Welcome to Serious Social Live. So, let's talk about planning for the unpredictable, uncertain, and unsettled. In other words, planning for next year. You'd think after this year we'd be in good shape for another bumpy year. We've pivoted, dropped campaigns, created new ones, and problem solved for the last 9 months. We've been agile, and it has, in the main, worked. The problem is agile marketing in itself without direction is exhausting. All that knee jerk responding, all that flying by the seat of our pants is painful and can be downright dangerous. Firstly, and most importantly, it's impacting the mental health of marketeers. All that uncertainty is causing us to move to sort of limbic brain thinking. We're in survival mode. It's become hard to think ahead, to be rational. And whilst this reflexive sort of danger mode helps in the short term to survive, over longer periods it impacts our well-being and increases anxiety. None of us can bear another year of that if we can help it. Secondly, there's an impact on marketing operations. Agility in crisis doesn't allow for collaborative thinking. It pushes past the sort of analysis of performance and rushes through creativity. It gets the job done, but not always in the best way. You can see it on social, brands that have taken a tumble or a misstep in marketing. Even recently, I've seen a rather insensitive social media competition from a global insurance company, a frivolous post that has no place being part of a terrible moment in history. Being agile in marketing, whilst necessary in a crisis, is not the only thing that's going to see you through success next year. Let me explain. So my son was chatting to me on a walk the other day about a Twitter post that caught his attention. He rather liked the analogy, suggesting that certain political parties' approach to fixing issues of the day was rather like having a car that was fundamentally broken and fixing the problem in 5 minutes with duct tape. The problem is still there and the fix doesn't last long, but it works for now. It made me think about the same for social marketing. We fixed and plastered over every single crack and fail in order to get through the year. Great, but for the most part, we have made it. The problem is that the car no longer looks like a car. You can't take it for a road trip and you can't fit the kids inside, and it no longer serves its purpose. The answer, of course, is planning. Even in uncertainty, you need to take stock and set a path ahead, never more so than in social, where your plans are always being derailed by something or other, from a format change to an algo update to a whole new network making it onto the scene. So, where to start? Some of what I'll talk about will seem obvious, but in reality, I find plans are rarely developed with this kind of level of rigor. And some of what I'll share will be a bit of a new approach. As always, start with a goal. Don't prevaricate. Decide where you want to be in a year. Doesn't matter that things may change. I mean, heck, you can guarantee they're going to change. What you need is long-term thinking so that any fix you make along the way keeps your car on the road and fit for purpose, because next year is going to need you to up the game on two particular fronts. The first is proving value to your business, and the second is building trust with your audience, neither of which is a short-term fix. We saw that in our benchmark report when 88% of marketeers said they were unable to always prove the value of social. If you plan it in from the outset, you have a much better chance of getting to that ROI. That means planning the goals, setting KPIs and metrics, and getting buy-in or back up from leadership, all before you start the year. Trust is at an all-time low amongst our audiences. Social is often used as a quick fix, a traffic driver, or a sales tool. In 2021, it's going to be just as important to build brand. Every company will need to reinforce credibility, be consistent in its purpose and build an identity that has meaning to its audience. You need to, of course, update your SWOT, do competitive category analysis, and you should consider benchmarking your performance against peers. Of course, that's standard. But once you have your goals, you need to build in what has happened this year. As Talking Heads say in their lyrics for The Road to Nowhere, I'm not singing this, we all know where we're going, but we don't know where we've been. And as we don't wish to be on the road to nowhere, we need to look back. There will be things that worked really well in all the chaos, and there will be things that failed. And we want to find where those nuggets and opportunities are, and what we need to avoid like the plague. No pun intended. With optimized goals set in place, now's the time to start planning in earnest. And the one thing we want our social marketing to do next year is cuddle up close to customers. We want to build relationships, never more so than in B2B, and be relevant in everything. Tolerance is low for poorly targeted content. So how do you understand an audience that is fickle, where the virus, the governments, and the priorities are just constantly changing? Well, not all is lost. Start with the macro trends from last year that show signs of sticking for at least the next 12 months. For instance, social use has increased 40% and is likely to stay high. It means competition for attention is heavy, and you need to plan how you will stand out. Conversations about online shopping increased 66% in the last 7 months compared to the previous period. And there's a surge of talk about squad shopping. That's kind of online shopping together in gangs, sort of representing the mole, whatever. We can see that e-commerce is going to be a big land grab through 2021. But if you dig a bit deeper, you'll discover that over 60% of negative posts are because people's tolerance for poor service, poor products, or poor delivery is at an all-time low, as is the growing resistance to handing over data. Whether you're in B2B or consumer, customers are using burner emails and clicking away from form fills. Then there are social signals demonstrating cultural shifts that we can take into next year. This has been a year for acceleration in changing values and attitudes. BLM brought diversity to the fore, and it has changed perspectives. 26% of consumers want businesses to continue to support BLM. It's even higher in the US. Take a look at search demand on Google Trends, and you'll see an almost exponential rise in searches for ethical and sustainable brands. 57% of consumers want businesses to focus on sustainability and the environment next year. Data from Brandwatch curiously reveals over 50% of consumers say it's important that businesses proactively make the world a better place, and over 45% want brands to set an example. There is pressure to be more. These insights, cultural signals, and megatrends, coupled with your goals, form a stable foundation for your plan. Add in the building blocks of messaging, and you have all the fundamentals in place. The rest of your planning is going to be about scenarios. This is where planning changes from what we've done in the past. You'll be planning for 2 or even 3 different outcomes. Start first with priorities. Line up your products and services and assign scenarios for when they will be high priority focus. Do the same for your media mix, for the channels that you use. For instance, in January, it's pretty likely that consumer numbers commuting will still remain low. Your focus might therefore be on the more digital channels. Somewhere after spring, fingers crossed, there is likely to be a move back into offices and the commute is back on. You then may want to open up your outdoor and DM. And of course, you'll need to plan to flex your social from topics and themes to copy, tone and visuals, depending on each scenario. Priorities and scenario planning, whilst keeping an eagle eye on your goals, means even if things change, you and your team know what to do. And with these all mapped, you then need to understand how each will be flipped on, when you will trash them, how it might morph. This is where you plan, your plan moves to a more operational structure, because rhythm is going to matter next year. Plan who you need on your core team, who will be bussed in and when, and who might be benched and why. Outside of resources and collaboration, you need to create this new operating rhythm. You need to measure more often, delve into audience insights regularly, and realign your plan every few weeks or even months. So to do this, you want to be clear on the data you'll collect. What metrics and what audience analysis will help you make decisions fast? Set meeting agendas now, so when you get to decision making, it can be swift. Know what priorities will come into play, when and how you will realign those channels fast. So you have the solid foundations, you understand what and how things might change operationally. And the last bit is opportunity to fly on social. And to fly, you're going to have to take a leap into experimentation, innovation, and being brave. Because with so much noise on social next year, you are going to have to stand out to have any impact whatsoever. That means being brave and holding some resources and investment back for tests and trials. It could be a campaign to grab a new audience, or using a new format, or just simply tilting your creative hard to engage with the changing audience emotions. Now, and only now, with goal scenarios and innovation in place, can you ask for the budget you need. Not squeeze it all from the budget you're given, but actually make a business case for the money that will ensure you can succeed. Wow. I've whizzed through a lot this Friday. I've certainly not touched on the whole of planning. We'd have been here for several hours if I had. I've tried to give you the elements I think are going to change. And if we get ahead of them, it will make life so much easier if we are able to do so with some level of certainty and a task force that can come together really quickly. So we've covered the scenario plans, we've covered the basics, we've covered innovation, we've covered the need to test. Marketeers need a plan that is built for uncertainty and an unpredictable year. But if you need more help, you know where we are. You know where to find us. We'll be back next week, though. And CJ is going to do another serious social. I hope that has been helpful. I hope that that's made you think a little bit about how getting ahead of yourself might stop, if nothing else, a little bit of the anxiety we felt this year. See you soon. Thank you very much.